Alright, what's up? It's your boy Mr. D, here to talk about some implications paragraphs. So, the concluding paragraph, I've tried to move away from the reverse funnel hook, because I honestly found just ending on a quotation kind of divorced and random from the paper. So, the concluding paragraph that I like to have are implications paragraph, and the definition of that is that a concluding paragraph that articulates concrete physical actions the reader can take to change their behavior based on the ideas in the thesis. So I think that's important to do in the conclusion of a paper because theoretically, as you've been writing about this beyond the text idea in your CI, that's something that because it's abstract, anyone can connect to or inform their behavior by. So this is really the step where you're jumping from the literature to your own life or to another person's life and saying, hey, whatever ideas were going on in this book, like how could this actually influence what I do? And it's important to note that what makes this concrete is forcing yourself to analyze what physical actions you could take, what practices you could put into your life, as opposed to just changing mindsets. Because it's easy to talk about mindsets. Like we're talking about mindsets in the thesis. The thesis is inherently going to be about ideas, but how do those ideas manifest themselves in the world? So the structure of an implications paragraph is first to start with a restated thesis. So in this example, we'll take a look at this thesis. In The Brothers Karamazov, Fyodor Dostoevsky argues that one should love others even if they sin, because doing so leads to spiritual, emotional, and societal fulfillment. So you can start the concluding paragraph with just a restated thesis, or you can invert the thesis, and an inverted thesis is simply starting with the subpoints and then getting to the CI. So here that would look something like, as the character's spiritual, emotional, and societal fulfillment demonstrate. I suppose that would be subject-verb agreement. Dostoevsky shows that one should love others even if they sin. If you don't want to mess around with the order of subpoints and thesis, then a non-inverted thesis statement is okay too. This is not a big deal, but the point is that we're going to start with the thesis, then transition away. The second step is that you need to transition away from the text towards the question of personal implication. This is not as complex a transition as in the introductory paragraph where you're connecting a hook and a CI. This is really just a generic statement about the fact that the ideas that we just encountered can have implications for the reader. I really don't know what more you could add here. The heart of the concluding paragraph, though, is generating 3 examples of concrete physical actions that the reader can take to live out the ideas of the thesis. So remind yourself, the CI here is that one should love others even if they sin, because doing so leads to spiritual, emotional, and societal fulfillment. So if you want, you can pause the video and kind of see what you can come up with in terms of actual physical actions you could take which relate to this idea. If you pause the video or didn't, here's what some examples might be. This means that one should make a list of people whom one needs to forgive or build a relationship with. People could also write in a gratitude journal once per day and try to include entries for people who have been frustrating or difficult. Finally, one can meditate for 15 minutes a day about their own failures to become more forgiving of others. So, whether those are perfect or not, they're certainly concrete in the sense that they are physical actions. They involve verbs, making a list, writing in a gratitude journal, meditating, which is not like physical like running, but it's an action. It's something I can do for a period of time. Notice how a good test for that is most actions you can give a time frame to, once per day, 15 minutes a day. That helps get even more concrete. So here's an example of everything put together. Let's say the CI is the Russo brothers film Infinity War demonstrates that one ought not use others as a means to an end, because it causes personal harm, harm to loved ones, and societal harm. So an implications paragraph might look something like this. Okay, we know we're going to start with an inverted thesis. As the personal harm, harm to loved ones, and societal harm in Infinity War demonstrate, one ought not use others as a means to an end. The Russo brothers' argument has wide-ranging implications for readers. So look at that. 1 sentence for the thesis, 1 sentence for the transition, and now you know I'm going to try to make this very abstract idea about using others as a means to an end somewhat more concrete. So what does that actually look like in daily life? For example, one should make sure to say thank you to any workers one encounters during the day. Okay, so saying thank you, that's an action. This helps one focus on their humanity and not just treat them as a robot helping one complete some daily chores. Okay, so a bit of reasoning. I'm developing why this action connects to the thesis. Another implication could be encouraging people to write a journal entry at the end of the day, asking whether one followed the golden rule. No one wants to be instrumentalized, so reciprocity could be an effective lens to evaluate one's action. So once again, one sentence for the actual physical action, writing a journal entry, asking whether one followed the golden rule, and then some reasoning about why reciprocity might be explanatory here. And then finally, one could or should read 5 news articles a day, evaluating whether the content includes instrumentalizing policies. The first step to preventing societal dehumanization is being aware of systems that instrumentalize, so reading the news could be a great first step. So again, notice the concrete action, 1 sentence, reasoning, 2nd sentence. So hopefully that clears up what a implications paragraph looks like. It takes a bit of thought, but I think it's a very important step to really close the loop on why we even write theses in the first place, which is to understand the ideas of a text, which ultimately we hope will have implication on how we live our lives.